beginning on Bud Light. So amazing, but Wall Street finally woke up a little bit, not a ton here because, they're still very reluctant to actually say what happened. I'm telling you, this ESG stuff is so off the charts that they can't even figure out logical, and I mean really, really logical trades. When this all went down, I told you, I had a very good friend who said, I'm going out and I'm buying Molson Coors, shares of TAP. Now, I don't give stock advice here, but this is a very smart gentleman, and I thought, that makes sense, right? Because what are you going to see? You're going to see people transition. They're going to change their beer amid this boycott. And so in the span of the last month, we have seen shares of Bud, BUD is the ticker symbol for Anheuser-Busch, a multinational conglomerate. It's originally an American company, but it was bought by a Brazilian beer company back in 2008 for $52 billion. Anyway, shares of Bud have been just plunging. Really? I mean, ever since this whole thing came about, they had been trading around $67 a share. If you look at them now, it's really amazing to see this kind of value loss. You're talking about depleting some $5 billion in market cap in this time. I'm pulling up the stock price as I speak with you, trading down again, $61.43. So this is finally catching up with them as it should. I mean, you started to see evidence early on, but for whatever reason, Wall Street was trying to ignore it. Interestingly enough, it wasn't even an American bank that came out with this. This was HSBC. And HSBC, their analyst over there, global research analyst, said, quote, the lead up to this Bud Light crisis and the handling of it renews questions about whether AB can build a brand culture. You think? He goes on, it is unclear how ABI will reverse eroding U.S. volume and brand relevance and fix distributors' trust without leadership changes. What did I tell you? Just the other day, I said I would not be surprised if you saw the CEO ultimately lose the faith and trust of investors. This particular analyst says downgrade to hold. That's code for sell. Maybe not sell. Maybe he's willing to give him a little bit of a try here. Global progress mitigates U.S. risks. Further deleveraging supports 12% upside in our analysis. All right. So think about this. The latest numbers show that there is basically a speed up in the boycott, a speed up in the decline in sales numbers for Bud Light. Everybody's been diversifying their beer choice. It's like, I've got a great word for this. I'm going to tell you in a second because it's spreading to other beer brands that are owned by AB right now, Anheuser-Busch. But when you look at Molson Coors, they've got, say, Coors Light, they've got Miller Lite. Those have both gained 13% in sales respectively, while, what do you know, Bud Light's down 26%. So they were the number one beer. And what have they done? They've conceded market to these two other competitors, which are owned by the multinational beer conglomerate Molson Coors, ticker symbol TAP. So consequently, TAP's way up, Bud is way down. And here's what's really interesting. What did we all talk about? We talked about how there were many, many, many beers in the Anheuser-Busch stable, and that the company was absolutely positively risking losing those brands as well. And that's in fact what has happened. I mean, so many of you are like, I'm never going to have an AB product again. I'm out, right? And now Wall Street's finally recognizing that you guys mean business. It's like, look, we have opinions too. They try to cut conservatives out of everything. Somehow we don't matter. And yet an example like this really does prove and shows we do. This is classic marketing 101 type of mistakes. I mean, they and the analyst admits that. Let me see if I can find the paragraph there where they do admit it. By the way, they never actually talk about Dylan Mulvaney. They can't. You know why? Little thing called ESG, environmental social governance. And if you're not with the program, you're not one of the cool kids, and therefore your research isn't valued. And not only is your research not valued, your bank's going to suffer because they're not going to buy into this. I mean, it goes on and on, right? This is part of the reason why you saw this company engage in such what one might argue is a risky marketing idea. But let's go back to Miss Alyssa Hanush. I can never say her name, so I always say one of these days I'll learn it, but I'm not gonna try because I don't want to mutilate it. But you know who she is. This is the marketing executive that has since been put on leave. Her boss was put on leave, and yet this boycott won't go away. And it's because every time we hear this, we feel it. Listen.
I'm a businesswoman. I had a really clear job to do when I took over Bud Light. And it was, this brand is in decline. It's been in decline for a really long time. And if we do not attract young drinkers to come and drink this brand, there will be no future for Bud Light. So I had this super clear mandate. It's like we need to evolve and elevate this incredibly iconic brand. And what I brought to that was a belief in, okay, what does evolve and elevate mean? It means inclusivity. It means shifting the tone. It means having a campaign that's truly inclusive and feels lighter and brighter and different and appeals to women and to men. And representation is at sort of the heart of evolution. You've got to see people who reflect you in the work. And we had this hangover. I mean, Bud Light had been kind of a brand of fratty, kind of out of touch humor. And it was really important that we had another approach.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. We've heard that. That other approach has cost her job and has cost her company $4-5 billion worth of market cap. And you know what? Cost the company overall, the entire Anheuser-Busch brand, its reputation and the trust that it had with its audience, with its customers. I mean, sure, you may want to expand your audience, but you don't insult the people that have made you who you are, right? And that's what she was so cocky and so condescending. And I think that's what we're all responding to, because it's not right, but it's sort of the way things are right now. And I just wanted to point out that Wall Street's finally catching up with it. I mean, they're afraid. You can tell they're afraid to really say anything. This is the only analyst that has actually issued a report on this. And it's like, guys, come on. Like, it's pretty obvious. There's a trade at play here, and you don't even want to admit it. You don't want to admit it because you're too afraid of the ESG police. The police that are sort of
impressive carrying skills, right? I got some Bud Lights for us. So I kept hearing about this thing called March Madness, and I thought we were all just having a hectic month, but it turns out it has something to do with sports. And I'm not sure exactly which sport, but either way, it's a cause to celebrate. This month, I celebrated my day 365 of womanhood, and Bud Light sent me possibly the best gift ever, a can with my face on it. Check out my Instagram.
The gift that keeps on giving. I mean,